Welcome in to the Gotham City Rogues podcast. I'm Mark Hamill. That's Kaylee Kuko. Harley Quinn, you sound sick over there. How's it going?
Hey, I just watched my latest episode of myself, and it was funny.
Ooh, you saw the finale?
Was that the finale?
I mean, if it's the most recent one, then yes. It just
Yeah.
ended a week ago.
Yes, I did.
Good show,
Yes, that
though.
was
If you
the
guys
finale.
haven't watched that, yeah, go check out Harley Quinn, the animated show on HBO Max, because that is a really funny. Can't believe they got permission from DC to make some of these episodes, that's for sure.
I guess it sort of makes sense that it's the finale. All right. Anyway, yeah.
Yep. We're here to talk about the House of the Dragon, though. Episode 6, The Princess and the Queen. I think the first thing we want to talk about here is we no longer have our wonderful actresses from the first few episodes. How did you feel about these new actresses joining the fold, Coach, and saying goodbye to some of our favorite characters?
Well, it's a tough thing to think about. I think people on the internet will like shout at you like, "Well, you guys don't understand that the older actresses were picked first and blah blah blah." That doesn't mean that we as the audience have to like it just
Right.
because
A thousand
behind
percent.
all that matters is what happens in the show, not behind the scenes. With that said, plainly, I liked both. I like both the new actresses just fine. I thought there was a weird decision to throw the new Rhaenyra like immediately into labor, and so she's sort of like, and she's sort of sickly
Not
and
looking
kind of
her best, but I mean, there maybe that's kind of an intentional thing where they're trying to make her seem like she's at a low point. Because in the overall story, it kind of seems she's no longer on a high horse. She's kind of defending herself from within King's Landing. My opinion, I prefer the younger ones, but we've only got one episodes with these ones. I think they were perfectly okay, but the old
well, especially Rhaenyra. I think like, I mean, Millie, whatever her name was, she was awesome, and like,
Millie Alcock, and now it is Emma D'Arcy.
I think like it's already disappointing to think about that. That's the last ever going to see of Millie. Like that's like annoying. I would love to see 2, 3, 4 seasons of her as Rhaenyra. So
Like this show is any indication, I don't think she's going to have trouble finding a job for quite a while. So I mean, I'm
yeah, but
sure
I
we'll
want
see
to see
more
her
of the
as
actress,
Rhaenyra.
but not in this role, which is a bummer. That's for sure.
Yes, that part's a
Al-
bummer, but I do like the new ones.
and then Alicent was Emily Carey previously, and now she's played by Olivia Cook. Uh, Switching actresses with that role kind of helped a little bit because I was always kind of on the fence about Alicent. Like I'm like, okay, I can kind of forgive her. She seems like she's okay as the younger actress, but I think now that she's evolved and she's more politically savvy, I don't like the character anymore. So it's not that she's not a good character, but I no longer root for her in any
Yeah,
way.
that's the other issue is that the characters have grown so much that it's like it's not necessarily like you can't really compare actor to actor because they're not playing the same person because they're playing a
Older version
10-year
of the
old
person,
thing.
yes.
So it's very different. Yeah, I kind of like the younger one a little better, but it's fine.
Big surprise. At least it was a surprise to me because you and I both predicted last episode. Like, oh yeah, the king, he's mad dead. Not dead.
No, he's
looking
not dead.
looking
That
like
was
an
I
old
was
sack,
surprised.
that's for sure. But he's very old, but he's not dead yet. I gotta believe that was an intentional decision from the start. They're like, we're gonna make this guy seem sickly and on his way out, and then we're gonna like make it seem like
Yeah,
he dies at the end of an episode, and then do a time jump, and he's still not dead. So obviously it's intentional because it's what they did in the show. But it's just kind of cool the way they handled it, I would say.
yeah, it was a clever little bit of a rug pulling there. I don't know that I loved it as the audience member, but I was glad to see him back. And when I really think about it, it kind of makes perfect sense for the actual story, right? Like we would have missed all the political intrigue of what happened after he died if they would have jumped 10 years when he was dead. So I
Very
feel like
true.
the best part will be when he dies. I think that's when the most
Well,
things are
that's
going to
when it's
happen.
kind of up in the air because it's the realm, because the realm supports the current king, and I mean obviously every king comes with people that are opposed to them, but for the most part, and we've already discussed it in previous episodes, he's a pretty like passive king. He does what he's supposed to do. He's in service to the realm. He's not memorable. He's not entirely likable, but he's not dislikable. He's very up the middle, don't care so much, which makes him perfect for leadership within this kind of world.
And I
You don't
think they're
need
gonna. I think they're gonna keep him alive longer than. I think he's gonna be around for a while actually, because I think they want to build up that tension of like what's gonna happen when he dies. I
I
don't think
believe
he's gonna die anytime
historically the
soon.
Targaryens do live a long time. There are obvious exceptions, but like the old man on the wall was what was his name as a Targaryen? I don't remember, but he was the guy that was in charge of the
Yeah.
crows on the wall, and he was a Targaryen. That man was like 90, so that's an example. And then I think I've heard just from stories that kings have long reigns. It's not like, especially even in the beginning of this show, we had an old king that was looking, much older than you would expect. I guess that comes with having all the money in the realm at your disposal. But at the same time, medicine's not exactly advanced at this point.
Now you know who doesn't look any older? Damon.
Damon and
Dude.
Sir Kristen Cole also kept the same actor. Had him grow out a little bit of stubble, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, Kristen makes the sort of sense, right? He was young, 25. Now he's
Yeah,
35.
pushing 35. Yeah,
You can
yeah. I
kind of.
guess you don't change that much in that time if you take
But
care of
like
yourself and all that.
Damon is brothers with Viserys. Like, why does your brother look like a dying old man and you look?
They gave Damon, I don't know if it was like a like, I don't want to say a fat suit. I think they just padded his armor or his outfit a little bit more. I don't know if that was to show the intent that he was like gaining weight, getting a little bit older, or if it was more along the lines of just like for convenience sake. I don't know what the real explanation is.
Yeah, it is
But
definitely
yeah.
interesting. But all right. Anyway, yep. I feel like that's a good recap of all the characters that we knew anyway. Right?
Yes. So yeah, like you said, Rhaenyra starts off giving birth, and exactly what I said last episode, that there's no way she's gonna be able to pretend that someone else's kid is her kid. It's exactly what they did the next episode. So I should get a gold medal because I predicted that, except the opposite. That there's no way she would get away with it. And then of course she does.
Did you? This is. I think this is an interesting question. So at the beginning, right, she gives birth, and then it says the queen wants to see it. For some reason in my head, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. How
She
is
would
she
be
the
the queen.
queen? It doesn't make any sense. And like, it literally, I
Took a
just could
second.
not.
Yeah,
I
I
couldn't
agree.
believe that he was still alive until he walked in the room. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I don't know why that never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I thought there was like some weird like power grab situation, and
I know. I was like, oh, we
maybe that
missed
was
it. That's kind of
the
sucky.
red herring. Maybe they did that intentionally too. But whatever the case may be, clearly Viserys is still alive. Rhaenyra is out here giving birth to kids that are very clearly not her cousins, but as exactly how it was with Joffrey and the other Baratheons in Game of Thrones, you just willfully ignore it.
Yeah.
And whoever it was it Sean Beans? Was it Ned Stark that discovered that it was
Yeah.
supposed to be? Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
remember if that
You
was a
just
different character later.
full send it. This podcast also has spoilers for Game of Thrones, in case you guys didn't know.
Yeah, that's season one. I don't feel too bad about it, but at the same time, if you're watching this show before you watch Game of Thrones, that's just like not in your best interest. I understand this is a prequel, but you got is it 9 seasons of
I'm
awesome
just
television to
watching them
watch?
simultaneously right now. Jenny is like, I think she's 5 episodes into Game of Thrones, and she's caught up on House of Dragon.
That's cool. Yeah, my wife is not interested in fantasy as a genre, almost blanket term. So can't get her to watch this one, but that's okay. I
Yeah.
still have a good time, and yeah, this felt like the return of the politicking to the umpteenth level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a lot of it. It's good. It's good stuff. I think. I'm a little interested in it. Some of it seems a little like too on the nose and over the top. The weird friend guy that she has. I don't even know what he is. The
That Allison has.
Yeah, whatever his
Or
name
are you talking
is.
about Lord Harwin that's been hooking up with
Yeah, there you
Rhaenyra?
go.
Okay, well they're both Harwins. That's the interesting thing is, for half a second I didn't realize that the Hand had two sons. I don't know why I put those things together. So I was like, how did the cripple turn into this hunk that's now hooking up with Rhaenyra? Turns out it's
Oh,
his
that's
brother,
right.
which makes a lot more sense. And yeah, he's clearly they hired an actor with darker features, like dark brown hair, and that's exactly why. And they keep pointing out that the kids look exactly like him, or at least Allison does. Not, I mean, so does I'm sure
Everyone
everybody in King's
knows.
Landing is saying it. Yeah. one of those things, and I really don't know what's gonna happen once the king does pass. Clearly, he's not a spring chicken and hasn't been for the entire show. So there's a lot of intrigue there and kind of weighing on
Oh,
what's gonna
I
happen.
think it's gonna be war. I think it's gonna be.
That's the only thing that makes sense, right? I mean, we got dragons in Dragonstone with Daemon, and no, where's he
No,
at? No,
he's
he's in
up.
Essos, right?
Yeah, he's an SSO at Pentos.
In Pentos, yes. But she's going to Dragonstone with her dragon and the other
Yeah.
kids' dragons. But we're getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves. Lord Harwin, he's the head of the excuse me, the City Watch, and clearly he's the one hooking up with Rhaenyra. Move on beyond that. But the baby dragon, cute scene. I thought I was like, hey, we haven't seen a dragon that's like small like this before.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I wasn't sure if they were showing it to be small because it was young, or that they weren't growing them properly anymore. Because I feel like that's kind of what they say in the original.
Interesting. Yes. That's a fair point. I mean, they could be getting smaller. I think that
I
was
think it was
kind
just
of
that it was a kid.
yeah,
Like, yeah, it was
because it's the same age as the kid. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. They are going to progressively be getting smaller because they can't really get any bigger because they're dinosaurs. But that scene was something where it's clearly showing that the cousin slash uncle nephew relationship, all those kids are being raised together, and they all seem to be friends, with the exception of being a dick to what was it, Edmund? Yeah, Edmund, whatever.
yeah, it's part of being kids, which is what Sarah said.
I know, but at the same time, it's like that's kind of what happened with Rhaenyra and Alicent. They grew up best friends, and now they're like political enemies. And I
Oh,
found
that's
it
for sure what's gonna happen. This for show is for sure gonna have those kids like one of them's gonna turn into like a Joffrey like kid.
probably Aemond because he's the one
Yeah.
that's showing. Yeah, I think he's gonna be the one that kind of moves forward. Where if I remember, I think oh man, I might be tripping here, maybe because all their names sound similar, but I'm pretty sure Aemond is one of the former kings of Westeros when they talk about some of the former
He
kings.
is, but then the name's been
The names are reused a lot too. Yeah, it's a
he's
fair
gonna be.
point.
My guess is he'll be the king. I don't think Rhaenyra is ever gonna actually be queen. I
Well,
think
yeah,
this
because her
kid will
dad
be.
won't die. I mean, I guess R.I.P. But it's similar to like Queen Elizabeth, where her husband or the king consort, she's just mad old and never got to go to the crown. Nope. And their
That's true.
kids are all old.
Yeah, I think the kid. I think the kid's gonna be. Aegon's gonna be. Aiden. What the hell? What's his name?
Amond, and
Aemond.
Aegon is the
Hey
old.
man.
Aegon is the older one. He's the one that was, kind of pulling the prank on his younger brother. Also, the one that's just jerking off out the window. Which I was like,
That's a great scene.
that was
That's
such a
so
good
good.
scene. I was like, holy shit. They fucking nailed that teenage horniness where he has all the power in the world. It was so funny.
So good, so funny, and then she just comes in and yells at him because she's the worst. Yeah, very funny.
Yeah, but that scene essentially, Eamon, they give him, the pink dread, which was, yeah, good joke. And we get a view of Rhaenyra's kids. She has 3 kids now,
Yeah,
which kind of crazy that they're just kind of popping them off. And Allison even points out that one time is miraculous, 3 times it's kind of impossible. How did you feel about the king's willingness to ignore what's right in front of him, and how do you think?
I
I
mean,
don't
what's he
know.
gonna do? You know what
What
I mean? Like, he's
should
not
he
gonna.
do? That's the interesting thing.
Oh,
Like, is he supposed to
you should
call
do
his
exactly what he's
daughter a
doing.
liar?
No,
Yeah, exactly.
he should do exactly what he's doing. You can't exile your own daughter. There's no point in it. Just you're the king. What the fuck? Go bite me. Like exactly. The point is, if someone comes and says something, like yeah, I will literally throw you to my dragon. So
Yeah,
why don't you shut up?
Kristen Cole had the biggest turn in the show so far that I just went from like really rooting for him, like, oh, this guy's great, and now I hate his guts. He's super annoying, and I don't like him. He turned into a
What
little
a
bitch last episode, and then this
what a
episode
weird
he was a
scene. The
jerk.
whole like dick measuring contest out in the yard between the
We
two
should talk about that
sons.
because it was a pretty interesting scene, I would say, where he's training the kids and he's clearly showing favoritism
He's
to
favoring
the king's
he's
kids.
the king's kids, and obviously Dickface is favoring his own kids, and then they get into
Harwin Strong.
a pissing match. It was a little too on the nose for me. Like I knew what they were doing, and I guess because spoiler alert, Harwin doesn't last very long. They kind of had to get the scene in and you had to do it on the nose because he wasn't going to be around long. But
I think that actor served his purpose perfectly. He's not going to be remembered in the history of the show, but he did exactly what he needed to do. He showed up, seemed to be a semi-supportive father without actually being confirmed as the father. I even wrote down he clearly has an interesting relationship with Rhaenyra's kids, and the oldest one's smart enough to realize that's his dad. And he was like, "Hey, I'm a cool guy. I'm the head of the city watch. I'm strong." And they get the dick measuring contest, and it bites me in the ass. Ned Stark-esque in that way, I guess. Trying to do what he thought was right and get murdered like almost immediately.
yeah, well, it sucks to suck, I guess. It is what it is. I think it sets up Rhaenyra in an interesting position where she has to do the whole like the desperate play to try to marry
I
one
find
of
it
his
interesting
kids.
that Laenor has not, because they had the discussion when they were younger that they would serve their roles to the realm, and he's clearly not doing that. I'm not, obviously you can't control your sexuality and all that stuff, but at the same time, like, what, you hook up with a dude and then just kind of like switch over to your house, your wife or whatever, and then you can have legitimate kids instead of this weird farce, you know what I mean?
It seems. I mean, it seems like they tried. It's what it sounds like. It sounds to me like they gave it their shot, and they tried that, and it just didn't work. It's just funny. It's just like everyone's like mad at Rhaenyra, like this, that. It's like you guys are the ones who literally made her marry a gay guy. You know what I mean?
It's
Like
true. Why is
you
everyone so?
forced her to marry a gay guy, and then you're surprised that they don't have sex. It's like, oh,
What did you think was gonna happen? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a bummer. Laenor got kind of fleshed out a little bit more of a character as a character, not a lot, but enough where you're just like
he's
he
interesting
he
enough. Yeah,
feels, yeah, I think so too. He feels like, I don't know if he's trying like a trophy husband of some sort where he feels like he's trapped within King's Landing and he wants to go out and adventure and scallywag with his new boyfriend and all that good stuff. But he has a role to serve within the realm, and
yeah. And there's a good amount of tension between him and Rhaenyra, but she's still like is a nice person. I don't know. I liked it. I liked that last
I
episode.
like it too. I like that relationship, especially because like she's like, listen, we have to leave. Bring your man, and it's fine. We need swords, and like she called, like it was very clear that it was the intention of like, I know you guys have a relationship. That might be partially out of guilt, I would assume, because Kristen Cole caved in the face of his ex lover,
Yeah,
but
at this point.
she's also
At this
just like,
point, everybody but Kristen Cole is over it. That guy's
that's a
he's
good
still being a
point.
tool years later, and like, dude, you gotta
I don't know why he's so
the
mad.
Viper who sucks all the life out of someone's like, dude, you need an arrow to the dome. Is what you need, my dude.
Yeah, he went from one of my top characters to one of my bottom characters, like I said, like immediately, because it's just his character is rash. Sometimes that can be a good character trait, but not in this scenario, I don't think.
No, it feels weird for the knight to just like be so absolutely a tool about essentially someone he hooked up with like what once or twice. It seems like you know what I mean.
Yeah, like once 10 years ago,
I
type of
broke
thing.
my vow. I broke you. Fuck your vow, dude.
Yeah. Any chance that he's hooking up with Allison now? I feel like there
No,
might.
it's not. It's not honorable. I think it's
He
definitely a
already
chance, but
soiled the cloak, and she's clearly not happy banging the just bag of bones that used to be her old husband. He's no longer like even a viable man, really. He has to sit and do nothing all day.
yeah, no, I think it's a possibility, but I don't. I'm gonna say my guess is no. 60-40. 60-40 no.
Fair enough. I like it. Uh, well, let's jump over to Damon. Damon is in Essos with his lady Lena, he's now on his second official marriage, but third attempt at a marriage because he almost hooked up with the hoe, almost got married to her, and
They have kids.
they do have
Which
kids,
we
which
assume are his. Yes, we don't know for sure.
they
But it
definitely
seems
are,
like it.
1,000%. I have zero doubt in my mind that those aren't Damon's kids.
I
He
definitely
doesn't
do.
seem to be a. Yeah, I mean, you make a good point that he doesn't seem to show as much love as he could, but that's also just kind of been Damon's character, where he almost seems incapable of showing his I don't know, reverence for people. He did that to Rhaenyra. He did that to his brother. All these people that like they love
Mm.
him how he is and they accept him, and he in turn kind of turns that on them, and he doesn't want to develop those relationships in a healthy way.
Yeah, it's definitely. I like what's going on there. I mean, maybe not with his kids. I don't really care about any of his kids, but I like the him and his wife thing. I like the little
I
political
don't,
intrigue of.
we shouldn't dismiss the kids though,
No,
because
they'll
they are
definitely.
going to be showing up as well. There's two of
Oh, for
them. There's a
sure.
chance they, I mean, I don't know if they're going to separate or if they join forces with one of the other Targaryens. But the show kind of predicted itself from the first episode that the only thing that could beat a Targaryen is a Targaryen, and that was kind of inevitable that that was how
Yeah,
this
it's
is going
sort
to
of
play
setting
out.
up different little armies of dragons. Is kind of what it seems to be setting up. So I agree with that. But I like the dynamic between him and the wife. I liked the dragon riding scene, dude. Her dragon, like the detail on that thing
Oh, that thing
was
went
insane,
crazy. I think it was crazy. Yeah, that
crazy
that
cool.
yeah, in the like essentially just like Blue Angels smoke show they did, where you just hit him with the Dracarys and he just flew through it like a badass. I'm like, this
Oh my
this
god,
is the
dude.
stuff I want to see, for House of the Dragon.
Is Jakar a top 10 just iconic thing to say? Like,
Dracarys. I mean, they do it enough in these couple shows that yeah. I mean, we can skip ahead a little bit. Clearly, she's pregnant and she wants to go back to her homeland. Damon seems to be coming to terms with being like a house cat, kind of just like a sellsword with a dragon, which
I think
in
it's a cool
theory
idea.
seems cool. It's like, yeah, they have gold, we have a dragon. It's a pretty natural thing there. I like how he's trying to remove himself from the politics of Westeros because I think he realizes it was damaging him. He's whatever medieval version of an alcoholic is, so taking himself away from that is probably the smartest thing he could do. And now his wife is trying to plant the idea of him returning, which was inevitable anyway. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
glad they
joke's on
showed it.
her. It's part of giving birth in the old Middle Ages there. Uh,
Oh yeah, I did. There's a clear like correlation between her
yeah, it's the
having
exact same
complications,
situation.
same situation that his brother had, and he did not choose to kill the wife. Although he wasn't given a choice, he never went one way or the other. She took it
He
upon
did.
herself.
Well, I mean, yes, but he was given the choice, and he shook his head no. He was like, "Nah, I'm not doing it. Like, we're not going together." And she was like, "I'm not dealing with this bullshit."
Yeah, I mean,
Um, but
what I
shouldn't
don't
she
even know what.
survive the flame? What's the rules there?
Yeah, I thought the same thing, especially because they already messed up the consistency with burning Jon Snow's hand at the wall in like season 1 of Game of Thrones, and then later he can't be burnt because he's a Targaryen. And now it's another dragon fire scenario, and instead of I don't know, just kind of being naked like Emilia Clarke in the show, she's dead. How does that
Wasn't
work?
that scene sweet though? I just loved her just standing there like telling her dragon to set her on fire.
You
I
know
thought that was
what?
dope.
She's not technically a Targaryen. Maybe that's what the weird distinction is. She's from Valyria, and she's a dragon rider, but
But
she's not a
she
Targaryen.
has the blood though because it's the blood of the ant. So I don't know what the rules are.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I
I
just
feel like they
yeah
broke their own rule. They did it for the
maybe
cool
maybe they just
scene, and
never
it
had a
was
rule.
cool. It was suicide by dragon, kind of a cool thing to do when you got no other option. She's like, "What up? I'm going out like a gangster," and I was into it. I was like, "Yeah, that's a cool way to do it." But
Yeah, and the dragon looked cool, and the like
I
I
like how
said,
the dragon
Jakar.
showed hesitation very clearly, and he ended up sending it anyway. Now, there's a free
Very cool.
dragon, though. Did you track that as well?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
we
yeah.
have the large dragon now in Homeboy with the psycho boy. He's not a psycho yet, but he's got the coming of Joffrey. He
I know.
might take
I said
over.
it while watching the episode. Him and the creepy guy. I was like, oh, you know what sucks? It's gonna be like at least 3 seasons before they get their comeuppance, and that
I
just kind of
know,
sucks. I just
I
kind of want
know.
to see them.
But at the
I already
same
want to see the
time,
kid get killed. Just already kill the kid. Just do it
I
now.
know he just do it now
Save
so
me
we don't
the
have to
pain.
live through this. Yeah, but at the same time, it also could go to Lena's, the younger daughter whose egg didn't hatch. So I don't know what's gonna happen there.
Oh,
But
probably hers. It'll go to her to start, but then
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen, and this is we're not gonna speculate entirely. But it just setting up interesting storylines for sure.
yeah, I liked all that stuff. I liked the proposal from Rhaenyra to Alicent. Um,
Yeah,
I thought that was an
and
interesting.
breastfeeding mother
over again.
problems, just shooting milk out in the middle of a serious situation. I was like, yep, that's what happens.
Well, it sounds like she's not a breastfeeding mom. She was like, it sounds like it's just like,
No, but she just gave birth, so it
yeah,
kind of naturally would happen like that.
and they're trying to like get it done with, get it axed as soon as possible. Someone else feed these babies. Get
Yeah,
my
that's what
milk to dry
wetnesses
up
are for.
ASAP.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I agree. I'm it's annoying how anti Rhaenyra Alicent is. You know what I mean? It's just
Well,
like,
here's the thing.
why?
The show wants to set it up very simply, right? She's afraid, and when you're afraid, you make dumb decisions. The problem is, Rhaenyra offered you a solution to all your fear. Like she offered you a
Yeah.
perfect solution.
Yeah,
Your kid
we
gets married, our
unite
kid, boom.
houses.
Now you never have to worry about me killing your kid ever again because now he's now married into the family. Boom, problem solved forever. But she didn't take the easy out. I don't understand that. That part's annoying. I get that she's afraid, so that like it makes her angry preemptively. She was told that her kid's gonna get killed someday, and now she's just already mad about it.
Yeah, but by her delusional dad, which I thought it was interesting that they were like automatically assuming he was going to be offered the role of the Hand of the King. Now, I guess we can touch on that real quick
I
before
guess
we get to
I would
Larry the
assume he
Cripple.
is, to be honest.
You think he's going to be the next choice? I mean, he, is there another choice? I guess that's an interesting
It's
point.
definitely not one that we've seen. I don't think. I mean, they're not gonna do. Obviously, Rhaenyra and them, they all left for Dragonstone, so it's not gonna be any of that. I mean, Damon could come back now that his wife's dead, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't. We'll see. We'll see.
Yep. Might as well just talk about Larry's the cripple. I don't know what his actual name is, but he's the other son of the Hand, and he chooses to betray his whole family. Very biblical of him.
Too easily, though. For my taste, it was too easy. I feel like in the original Game of Thrones, those kind of things had like a build to it. You would have hired the people and cut their tongues out, and then like 2 or 3 episodes later, they would have killed his whole family. But because it's more condensed, it just seemed too easy. Like it was that easy to kill
That
important
I
people.
think that's kind of one of the detriments of this show is I understand the Targaryens are the main focus, but you could spread the story around a little bit. Like before it reveals that there's assassins or whatever, I'm like, oh, this is going to be an interesting subplot that's going to unfold later. And
Yeah, but it
instead,
doesn't.
it's just straight murder immediately, and I think that wasn't the best decision.
Yep, I agree. That's how I felt too. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. But I don't love it. But hopefully it
Yeah.
means he gets killed for being a traitor sooner. That'd be nice.
Does it feel like we just need a third or fourth story to follow along with? Because I understand that's not. It's kind of unfair because that's not what you expect from a lot of TV shows. You got your main, and then you got a couple of side characters. But because it's set in the same universe as Game of Thrones, from the same author, from the same book series,
I'm gonna say
it
no.
feels like we have to.
I'm gonna say no because I like that this is different. Like I said, there's times when I don't like it. Right, like I just said that.
I don't
time
want
for-
it to be a clone of Game of Thrones. Like that's not how I feel about it. But at the same time, some of the core elements that I do miss from that show seem to kind of be at the wayside in this one.
Sometimes, but I like other things about it. I like how much we are really getting to know Rhaenyra, and it doesn't take us. You know, I feel like she's had as much time as Emilia Clarke in 7 episodes as it took. You know, 2.5 seasons.
Two
you know
seasons.
what I mean?
Yeah, that's true because she was one of the subplots at the beginning of Game of Thrones. That's a fair point.
So overall, I like the decision. I like the decision that there's like really 3 main stories. There's the High Towers and they're whatever. They're not the Targaryens. There's Rhaenyra, and then there's Daemon. I feel like I like that. Kind of keep it there.
Yeah, Damon has clearly gone through a change. We already talked about it, so I'm just intrigued on if him returning to Westeros is gonna be like turn him into something different. If he's good, like who he's gonna align with. There's a lot to look forward to. I don't know what the confirmed number of episodes is for this show, but I gotta imagine we're getting towards the end of season 1. I think it might be 8 episodes. I'll look it up later. It might be 10. But either way, does it feel like they're, I don't know, like a rush of some sort?
Nope, it's 10 episodes. Yeah.
Okay, 10 episodes. So we
So
got okay.
we
I
got time.
guess we're a little over halfway. We're doing all right. This is good pacing. I did read that they're not going to be doing another time jump, so that's appreciated because that was needed but annoying. You know what I mean?
I think in some ways, honestly, I really I should have been. I wish I would have been in the room. I would have told him to have everything that we've seen. So the first 5 episodes, right? This is episode 6. So the first
Yes.
5 episodes, you should have spread that out, and made that one season, and then season 2 could have been the time. But maybe it would have been like even worse if we'd have got to know Millie and them even more. So maybe
That
that's
I
why they didn't
think the
want to do it.
reason they didn't do that because I have read a little bit of Fire and Blood, not a lot of it, but I read enough of it to realize it's essentially just a history of the Targaryen family. So each individual Targaryen story is not developed that much because they do a lot of time jumping. So they'd be going off page again, which was the detriment of the final season of Game of Thrones, where they
Yeah,
tried to
the
just
final
wing
season.
it with terrible writers. But at the same time, George R. R. Martin seems pretty involved, so he could have done a little bit extra there. So who
I don't
knows?
know, but that response makes me fear that they're just gonna keep doing it. Next season 2 is just gonna be like, you know what I mean? Like, how long
Yeah,
is Damon even gonna be around? Is Damon
listen,
in
I don't want
Rhaenyra?
that to happen, but it's certain. It's
It
definitely
feels like
on.
that's.
Yeah, exactly. It
It feels like that's
definitely
what it
could
is.
happen. Which, if it keeps doing these time jumps, it's hard to be invested in the characters. Like, yeah, I get that you're the son of this person, but you've had 3 minutes of screen time, and all of a sudden you're the main character. Why should I care?
I really do. Yeah, I do think if Rhaenyra is dead by mid season 2, and Damon's gone, and like now it's just the kids. Like by season 4 of the kids, I think the show will have a huge drop off in people. I don't care how good the show is. Like characters are why people stay for shows. It's just the truth of things. Like you
It's
can only
true.
kill off major characters very very slowly.
Yeah,
Even in
and
a show like Game of Thrones, you just can't kill off Jon Snow. You just can't kill off certain characters because that's
yeah,
what people stay
and
for.
that would be the problem is that it'd just be aging too much, like moving too far through time too fast. And yeah, I just don't want that to be what the show ends up being, and it certainly looks like it might end up that way, which is
But
gonna.
I mean,
We
if
could be
that's the
wrong.
way it is, if that's the way it is, and we only get 2 seasons with like Rhaenyra, that's fine. I will
Perfect
look back.
comp.
I'll be like, I
Uh,
love these 2 seasons, and that's
did
it.
you watch Vikings? Did you watch the show Vikings?
No, but
Is originally on
I hear
History
it's
Channel.
fun.
I love that show. Yes, it's very, very good. I'd recommend it to any of our listeners. The spinoff on Netflix, and not as great. But in that show, it starts with Ragnar Lothbrok and Lagertha, and they have 2 kids. One of the kids dies, the other one grows up. Then Bjorn is one of the main characters for the rest of the show. And then he leaves his former wife. Sorry, spoilers for Vikings, obviously. He gets a new wife. He's got 3 or 4 kids with this new wife, and then the show moves forward because Ragnar's sons are not interesting when they're kids. So it jumps too far ahead to where they're like 18s to 20s, and then they have to kill off the parents because they're old. And the show did actually become specifically about the kids, and it upset some people because the main character Ragnar died in 2 seasons before the show was over, which is kind of a weird way to do a show, and I hope they don't do the same thing here. Not that Vikings wasn't successful, but it's kind of a slippery slope.
Yeah, I agree. Slippery slope. That's kind of all I have to say about it. We'll just kind of let it. But like I said, at the end of the day, if it's 2 seasons of Rhaenyra, and I stop watching the show after 2 seasons, I'm not the kind of person who like looks back on Walking Dead and I'm like, oh yeah, it sucked after season 6. I'm like, yeah, dude, that was 6 seasons were awesome. That's how I look
That's
at it.
that's
So
fair. I never watched. Yeah, people have tried to get me to jump on that train a few times, and I haven't done it myself. But respect to that show, and you can't watch everything. There's too much out there. I'm glad you guys are watching House of the Dragon with us and coming. I'm just our numbers unreal. Not actually. Share with your friends. We'd love to get some other people's opinions up in these comments. Join the Facebook group. Follow us on YouTube. Comment on the stuff. It's all good things. Thank you
absolutely.
once again, Coach. Check out Marvel Stuff podcast. Lately, we've been dropping on Tuesdays specifically for you guys here on the Gotham City Rogues pod, so we can do them back to back. So check out that show. Love you and have a good one.
Oh, I love you guys so much. It's just so good. It's love.